Good morning, Mr. Shekhar. Are you well?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Well, so for those who are not watching but can hear, I'm sitting with Shekhar Natarajan. He's the founder and CEO of Orchestro.AI. Now, firstly, congratulations on your award on Friday. Sorry, I don't know where I am at the moment. On Friday, at the Signature Awards for your global impact that you're making in the field of AI and everything you've done today. So, congratulations.
Thank you so much, Ninder. It's a great honor to have received it.
Yeah, and we'll go through, and for those watching and listening, you'll understand why Shekhar got it. It's extraordinary. Now, I'm also conscious that you're in Birmingham. I'm also conscious you've got a flight to catch. So we're going to try and get this over in 45 minutes, and we'll try and grab you again a second time. So we've got a lot to pack in.
Sure.
You're an entrepreneur, but you have a fantastic heritage in working for some of the largest corporates in America. You're Indian born, but you're now living in America, in San Francisco. You worked for Disney, Walmart, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, American Eagles. You now have founded and set your own Orchestro.AI, and we'll go into that. So congratulations on your award. So the first question I'm going to ask, and then we'll really delve in. You've put AI in the title of your company. So for anybody listening in and watching, actually, what is AI? We've heard it, but what does it actually mean?
Thank you for having me here, and I love your energy, Ninder, and I wish I could bottle all of that and run away. So AI is actually the field of computer science that really focuses on creating systems which can actually perform human tasks which needs a lot of intelligence, right? In the simplest way, that's how we explain it. So anything that needs human cognition that can be automated is considered AI. And people talk about AI as though it was born yesterday, but the genesis of AI is 1956 at Dartmouth University, right? So this is when Claude Shannon, Marvin, Nathan Rochester, and also John McCarthy. All these guys were the pioneers who started teaching machines to code, right? And to mimic the human behavior. And it has taken almost 70 years to get to this place, and
yet we think it just happened.
It's just happened yesterday, right? And people have been using it subconsciously and in many ways, and so I'm excited about the prospects of AI and where it can actually do human good. Obviously, people are pursuing it in a reckless way, and we'll touch on the topic a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, so. But you're born, so let's just go back a bit. You're born in India, not great circumstances in Hyderabad. So explain how you got from Hyderabad to San Francisco. How did you go, that fantastic career of yours? So how did you end up, through all of that, in Orchestro.AI? So just go through that journey with me. I'm trying to understand how you went from sharing a house with 8 people.
Yeah.
In not the greatest areas of Hyderabad, to now being a pioneer and a great sort of advocate of how we can use AI to improve humanity.
Yeah. So, obviously, the journey of my life is very interesting and is one that I feel grateful. The circumstances growing up at the time was not something that any kid would want, but looking back, I don't want it any different. So I, as you mentioned, I grew up in slums in India, and my father used to make 150 rupees, which is $1.75 a month. My brother actually suffered from bipolarity, and during that time when he was growing up, it sort of is like a taboo. You start thinking about going to a mosque, going to exorcist, you don't go to a psychologist. You go to all the other forms, thinking that like something is wrong. And growing up in that circumstance, in the situation I was in, um, you know, there were some deep wounds that got created, and there was also insecurities, fear, the anxiety, or the pressure to perform. They all build in within you, right? And so the reason why I came to United States was very simple. A lot of people thought, if you're a Hyderabadi, like every kid in Hyderabad who's born like is expected to go to United States or to go UK or to go to some place to go pursue higher education. That was not the reason why I came. I came to United States because my eldest brother came to United States and he broke his left arm, and he was out of school. And the reason why he was out of school was he was try to help me get my education in India. And I felt like a complete hypocrite that here's my brother who's sacrificing his life, and it's my obligation and my responsibility to come take care of him. So he called
Okay.
me in 2000, December 2000, and I had not even prepared. I was in the last year of my engineering school undergraduate, and he explained the situation he was in, and literally I teared up on the phone. And mind you, this is not even my phone; it's my neighbor's phone.
Yes. Yes.
So, and I decided to come. And the reason why I chose the university I chose is because we had reapplied for his university to go to University of Alabama, Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and Georgia Tech was literally 4 hours away from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And my reasoning was, I can go see my brother over the weekend, and because he has bipolarity, um, and he has these extreme swings, I wanted to be very close to him. And so I decided to come to United States, and literally I came with $34 in my pocket, you know, and a sack of groceries, uh, flip flops, two jeans, three t-shirts.
Wow.
That's it.
So then, how did you, from that kind of background, and we'll talk about whether actually that poor background was, whether you think it or not, actually played a role in your mindset in achieving what you achieved. Because from where you came from, you could only go in one direction, and every little step you made going up, you were grateful because you were reminded of where you were coming from. If that makes sense, but we'll pick that up when we look at that. So tell me very briefly, because I know time's against us. So what did you learn, and what did you get from having worked with Disney, Walmart, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, American Eagle? How did that shape you in getting to where you are now, if that makes sense? Because that's the biggest brands in America, actually globally. So what did you learn through that process? And perhaps you could touch on the AI side, the tech side, how did that sort of shape what you're thinking now?
Yeah. So every one of the first, I like, for everyone who thinks that I have arrived. Uh, Sad news, I haven't.
Yeah.
Like I'm still in the journey, trying to discover, trying to basically make an impact. Um, the journey for me started like with Coca-Cola, and literally I graduated from Georgia Tech, and I wanted to stick to my knitting, so Georgia Tech school was one of the best for industrial engineering. In industrial engineering, has morphed into logistics and supply chain,
Okay.
right? Like process engineering became supply chain, and so it was one of the best schools for supply chain. And I did not like a lot of my friends actually started seeking employment in companies beyond their core competencies. They went to financial sector, they went to
Mm.
consulting and so on and so forth. And I wanted to be in supply chain, so I did not take any job that came to me. I said, I want to just take the job that I like. And probably that ignorance and probably that like bullishness, combination of both of those, I couldn't land a job till like there was only 2 weeks left on my visa.
Oh, wow.
Seriously. And I was sleeping on the couch, on my brother's couch. I had actually made a movie resume, a size of a business card, and sent it off to Ron Hammond, who's now the COO of my company, and he was the SVP of operations at Coke. And he looked at it and he said, I need a creative guy. Resume in a movie format seems to be very creative, and he gave me an opportunity, and then he hired me. And that was probably the best angel. Ron is the best angel in my life, who came into my life at the time for two reasons. One, he helped me get out of the situation that I was in, which is like I could have been deported or I could have had to come back to India. And the second is Coke was going through a transformation at that time. So I became a prodigy of transformation of all companies that I work for. And in a transformative role, so Coke had to rethink how it distribute its products. When Coke was created as a company, they were carrying only like a handful of products. You get like Coke in a can and a bottle. And then they started proliferating like the types of variations, the flavors, the bottle sizes, can sizes, and so on and so forth. The infrastructure was not like really designed to carry that. And so as you begin to transform, you begin to basically work with people. And these companies have one of the best talent, the Coke culture, the Pepsi culture, the Walt Disney culture, the Walmart culture, American Eagle culture. The culture of that company is made up of people who go above and beyond the call of duty. And what I discovered in all of these companies is technology is not what drives these companies. People drive the company, right? It is their sheer tenacity, the thought in their head that they should not let the customer down, right? It is the brand image that they want to carry, hey, I work for Coke, and they want to show off that they work for Coke. And so that that imagery of pride, right? And how they carry themselves, that was what was driving. So, and people always mistake and think that the automation of like the manufacturing facilities make it Coke it is, and the formula makes like Coke what it is, and the bottle makes what Coke it. None of that. It's just humans which actually make this. So and as you go through these companies, you pick up on these amazing stories of people.
So can I just ask?
Yes.
So what you're saying, I think, is Disney, Walmart, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, American Eagle. It was, and what you saw in common with all of them was the culture and the people.
Absolutely.
But everybody outside thinks, oh, it's the brand. And of course the brand is made up of its people.
Yes.
But and you mentioned logistics, and I'll tell you, automatically I think systems.
Yeah.
I think processes. How quick can we get it from A to B? But you're saying no.
No.
That's no. It's the people that drive the process. And so if you're running a business, whether you're running it, you're owning it, always focus on the people, because actually that's what drives it.
Absolutely. Let's take a simple example, right? People get very frustrated sometimes about finding a can of fruit not being available in a grocery store. Right? Let's take pear as an example. Pears are actually grown in Chile, cut in Thailand, packaged in China, and then it shows up in a store in New York. 20,000 miles traveled. 50 cents a can. How does that happen?
Yeah.
There's so many touches,
Yeah.
right? And so many things actually break along the journey. And no one recognizes how all these things break, because it's it's the underbelly of the world. No one sees it. People hold it together all the time. And we're talking about billions and billions and billions and billions of units. that is serving the humanity. So it's the sheer tenacity of the people which actually makes all of these things work. System plays a role, but the systems are like always flawed. They don't consider the exceptions. And in today's world, everything is an exception. The consumer's expectation is like, I want it instantly. Like the company's expectation, drive profits. Like, like the stakeholders, influencers, like, show me, like, how are you going to make more money than like what you made last year. So everyone has like an incentive and everyone is pushing. But despite all of this pressure, the only thing that makes systems work are the human systems, not technological systems. And so that's what, like, I walked away with. And in a transformation role, you don't have to use your mind as much. Mind is great, like ideas are great, like, and you can get like a million ideas, but you got to touch the hearts of people to transform. And to touch the heart of the people, you need to understand how they think, what they think, and what makes them important and what makes them relevant. And so 25 years of my life has been spent trying to just do that and perfect it.
So leadership is all about people. Yes, you understand systems and technology, but ultimately comes down to understanding people. So the best leaders are the ones who understand people.
And their psychology.
Psychology.
And their psychology. Right? Like, how, like, we all think, and mistakenly we think, that brain is the most important function in our body. But it is the heart which is the most important thing. People don't like take decisions using brain. They use their brains to rationalize what you already decided. Quit telling someone, like, go stop smoking. They wouldn't. Tell someone, like, stop drinking. They wouldn't. It has to come from the heart. And then you begin to rationalize through your brain that it is not good for you. You're letting your family down. And then, like, so this is the combination of how decisions are made in life. Every decision is that way. You go to an ice cream shop and you don't say, let me find the one which is the most healthiest. You eat what you feel good about, right? And then you rationalize and say, okay, I can actually skip on my, like, dietary, like, things today, because I want to just feel good about eating an ice cream.
Well, on Friday night, I had to have two desserts. I didn't have one. I had two desserts. I said, I feel good now. I'll have a
I feel
second
good
dessert.
now. Exactly.
I'll have a second dessert. Right. So brilliant. So you learned, it's all about people.
Yes.
You worked through these fantastic businesses. You've been watching through logistics the role of technology. So you understand tech.
Yeah.
You understand the crossover between people and tech.
Yeah.
And then for some reason you decided then, having spent 20 odd years in corporate America,
Yeah.
corporate business, that you wanted to set your own up. So what was it that you thought was missing for you during this fantastic career? Or was it, so it's either there was something missing, because you must have been earning some good bucks, I would have thought, working for people like this, particularly in the transformation side. So was there something missing there, or did you see an opportunity through AI, which was now flourishing, and thought, actually, it's great being in corporate America, but I think I could do something here. I know enough talent through my years. I'll build a team. Was it opportunity, or was it, it's not market failure, or was it a failure to achieve what you wanted to do in corporate America? Which would, does that make sense?
Yeah, and no, it's a great question. So, I think the real the transformation for me, right? There are two types of transformation people go through. Like, and at least in my case, right? The transformation of you being a kid to being a grown up, and then there is a professional journey that you take, right? So I was transforming companies. I got to 2017. late 2017, and in 2005 I got a call, and I lost my father
Oh,
to
yeah.
like he was in a vegetative state, and I had to decide whether my father had to be alive. And then and he was very close. Like we like everything, every small detail I would share with my father growing up. And in 2017, I get a similar call from the house, and at this time it was my mother.
Mm.
And so I became my mother's voice, her like hands, like her soul. And I was spending a lot of time trying to help her get through the situation she was in. And it gave me the time to think about myself, my journey in life,
Mm.
and my purpose in life. And the image that came to me was the single room with 8 people, my father helping people, and my mother saying it's not fair for me to not go to a school because I'm the third kid. And there was a weird rule which said, like, 3 children from the same house cannot go to the same school. I was like, she said, like, I'm not going to take that for an answer. And so she literally stood in front of the headmaster's office for a year. She did not protest. She literally stood in front of the headmaster's office for a year, and she outlasted the system. And so, and then my journey, right? And I kept thinking to myself, why am I doing what am I doing?
Mm.
Am I trying to validate to others that I'm successful?
Yeah.
Or should I have a different purpose in my life? And when I put all the pieces together, it became pretty clear that corporate America is great. But corporate America still means I'm a number on someone's balance sheet,
Yeah.
right? And while I'm helping a lot of people and doing good through the company, I said, what if I can start doing good for the society and uplift people like me and give them hope and give them the ability to grow just like I grew. I did not grow because I was brilliant. I did not grow because I was working hard. I did not grow because it was physics. I did not grow because there was like some magical thing which is happening called karma in my life. I grew because of the good deeds my father did and the amazing blessing he left, and people came to my rescue and they lifted me up. And so my journey and my calling became very simple at that time.
So that was the point. That was the inflection point which flipped you.
Yes.
That was
And
the point where you thought, hold on.
yes. And it was not like midlife crisis,
No.
like in all of that. Like internally I was very hollow, by the way.
Mm.
I felt like, I was I probably like had like 30, 40 like international awards, and like I was like published everywhere, and I was, to your point, I was making a lot of money. People would hire me out. Every company that hired me out paid me thrice as much as the previous
Yeah.
company. It felt good and all, like, like shit, like someone is actually really, thinks I'm very valuable. And that is like a deception. Like, you thinking money is equal to value is a deception. And I like understood that it was so deceptive, and it was so um, uh, it was so, like, you feel like excited about yourself. It's so egotistical that I wanted to break that cycle. And in 2020 something fantastic happened. The world was going through COVID, but I had a son, and my son looks exactly like my father.
Oh.
Okay? Same smile, same face, same soul. And so the irritation that I had in my life, that, like, I want to do something, became even more pronounced at that time. And I said, like, I got to do what I'm doing right now, which is really like build systems that lifts humanity up. And if I can use all the brain, and I've transformed 5 companies with millions of people impacting billions of people on the other side called consumers, why don't I use it to basically do something at population scale? And that's how Orchestro came about.
So interesting. Wasn't market opportunity, wasn't other than a number on a balance sheet, wasn't dissatisfaction of American corporate culture, but it was two life decisions or two things happening in life outside of work.
Yeah. The journey from being a corporate guy to an entrepreneur, um, was different for me because I was an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And I actually, before starting Orchestro, I had built a company within American Eagle, and it was one of the fastest growing company. We literally went from $60 million in revenue to $390 million in 9 months. And people thought what I was trying to do was impossible. But we landed 15 brands who are all what I would call enemy, and we converted them into a frenemy, right? It's a collaborative network. So we said, just like AWS, what AWS is for Amazon, can we take every supply chain of every company, put it all together, and create a collaborative network that everyone can share the resources and not have to build and rebuild the resource structure that is necessary for you to do digital commerce? And so we had Fanatics, we had Steve Madden's, we had Saks, we had Adore Me, Tilly's, American Eagle, you name it, like 15 brands just came online with us because they all saw the vision of what we were trying to do and they were all part of it. And then I came out, of American Eagle to start this business.
So just with that. So what you've then explained, and a lot of people don't see that,
Yeah,
is that sometimes you can create value.
within a company.
Yeah, not only within a company, but you can create value by collaboration.
Absolutely.
And people don't see that. They always
Absolutely.
think it's a competitive environment. I've got to fight with everyone.
Yeah.
But actually, if you collaborate, you can all benefit, which is something.
Absolutely. So, see, supply chains, people think supply chains is a very age-old industry with a lot
Yeah.
of age-old thinking. And so most of the people think that for you to grow, you need to bring the other guy down. You know? And when I joined American Eagle, just to touch on that point, they said, Shekhar, welcome. You own the supply chain. And I said, great, what do I really own? I don't own the factory, right? I don't own the guy who's consolidating my freight in different parts of the world. I don't own the ships. I don't own the port. I don't own the guy who's unloading my freight at the port. I don't own the guy who's transporting the freight between the port to my distribution center. I own the distribution center, but it's something which no one gives me credit on the balance sheet because I'm a brand making products. Who cares about whether you have a distribution center or not?
Correct. Nobody.
I pay for 250 people, but that's not sufficient for me to run the peak operations during Thanksgiving. And so I go and hire people from temp agency, which is not mine. I don't own FedEx and UPS. I don't own a mall. I don't own the consumer. So what do I really own?
Brilliant. Love it. Absolutely brilliant.
So, and everyone has this false sense of control. They think that they want to control the supply chains. So that control thinking, the control architecture in our brain, we want to control, prevents us from basically thinking about the most obvious. Why our job as brand owners is to compete on what makes our brand different. The resources underneath that to actually make things move is a shared utility. And when you think about it that way, you begin to unlock a lot of value. It is asking, do I want to have to deal with 6 different utility companies bringing water to my house, or do I want to have one? You wouldn't have 5 or 6. You would just have one, right? So that's essentially the model that I was trying to unlock within American Eagle. Worked like a charm. if you go read the transcripts of American Eagle, like for almost the last 5 years, American Eagle Outfitters is the only company in the world, not just in North America, in the world, which would say it has leveraged its delivery expenses. Mind you, shipping expenses are fast growing everywhere in the world. It leveraged its delivery expenses as a percent of the digital growth.
Wow.
They were growing their digital business by 30% year over year, and they still are, but they were leveraging the expenses of the supply chain, which was growing faster than the 30% unit growth.
Got it.
Right? So it's crazy for someone to think that your supply chain expenses can come down when your business is growing. Right? And like it just defies logic and law. So it was because we created a collaborative network. And so that idea, now coming back to the question you asked about the entrepreneur and entrepreneur, well, there were many things I would love to, like, I got pampered along my life, like,
Yeah.
25 years of my life, or like 22 years of my life, I was pampered. I had like three admins, one in San Francisco, one in Pittsburgh, and one was called the chief of staff. All would run behind me trying to like coordinate what I was trying to do. Like, I had like people like taking care of everything that I needed. I had thousands of people. I had like 88,000 people working in one company that I work for. So like numbers was never a problem, delegating was never an issue, and all of those things. And it was getting used to the fact that I have to be the janitor, I have to be the accountant, I have to be the guy writing the deck, I have to be the guy like standing in front of people. And I was okay with all of those things. I also had this like moment of epiphany, which was super interesting and humbling. Till like 22 years of my life, I would sit in my office, and the title I carried made people come stand at the door waiting for them to access me. And they would be waiting outside so they could get a glimpse of me, and they could present their story as a vendor, and they could get business from me. And the very guys who were my vendors ended up being my customers. So
Wow.
I was standing at their door trying to seek their time.
But they do say, look after the people on your way up.
Yes. So it was
Because-
really humbling to kind of like go through that experience to say like, oh, look, like, is this true? Is this how it works? and you know what? At that time, you appreciate even more the relationships,
Yeah.
despite whether they are your company, whether they're like outside your company. Everyone deserves to be respected. And sometimes you, being in the corporate world, gain that hubris and arrogance that like vendors are like disposable, right? Like, people are
Yeah.
disposable. So as much as humbling it was for me to be sitting on the other side, it also reminded me that, like, human relations are so important. Those guys welcome me.
Yeah. So you worked on the way up. You looked after them.
Absolutely.
So when you needed to go to them, brilliant.
Yeah. So I think there are many moments like this, and in the world of entrepreneurship, there's one more stark difference, Nindarji. One of the stark difference in the entrepreneurial world is you're making decisions every minute, every second. In corporate, it takes a lot of time.
Speed.
So your mind should be wired to be able to play many different hats. You're thinking like a customer, you're thinking like a marketer, you're thinking like a technologist, you're thinking like a product person, you're thinking like the guy who's coding, you're thinking like like the administrative side of things, and HR and human relations and like investor relations, and you're like constantly flipping across contexts every day. And in a role, you're confined to doing one thing and only one thing. Now you got to be doing many things, and you're context switching every second of the day. And the pace of decision making is just simply like mind-boggling. And
Listen, in the short period I've known you, you don't hang around. You make decisions so quickly. and you're absolutely right. You know, it, it could prove to be the wrong decision. I'm talking about generally. But you have to make a decision. You have to make it quickly.
Absolutely.
And firmly.
Yeah, because you can always, like, even if you made the wrong choice, it is not like it's like life threatening.
Yeah.
Like, so long as your compass is not to make any of those decisions, you can always unwind it and point it in a different direction. So I have come to realize that decision making for an entrepreneur, right? That, like, the switch from going from entrepreneur to an entrepreneur or corporate to entrepreneur is keeping your mind open to the fact that, like, all things come like like an avalanche, and you should be ready for it. And the quality of decisions you make is going to determine the success of a company.
Now, we've only got 7 minutes, I think, something like that. So let's quickly get into, and like I said, I knew this could be a 3-4 hour thing, and you can see now why. Let's move quickly into what your business does then, because I think you hinted at it,
Yeah.
is to shorten sort of the supply chain. And then very quickly, if you could sum up, is AI an opportunity or is it a disaster in the making? Because actually, robots will replace humans. So I know we haven't got much time, but let's first start on the business. Yeah. So you've got this fantastic understanding of supply chains, working with processes, with people. So where do you see now the opportunity for orchestral AI to make that impact? And if we can sum up maybe at the end on why you think AI, what role it plays, because you were pretty clear at the Signature Awards on Friday where you saw the role of AI.
Yeah.
So can we tackle those two? If that's
Absolutely,
okay?
absolutely. So the Orchestro.AI was born from a very simple, idea that the small guy doesn't get to win, right? Logistics is very expensive
Yeah.
for a small business, and they have to spend a lot of money. If you're not like an Amazon, you would be spending a ton of money trying to build your business, and even with that, like you're going to be at a competitive disadvantage. So I wanted to change that whole paradigm. And when I looked at, like, what makes logistics today, it became very clear to me that logistics was designed for business to business interactions, not really business to consumer interactions, right? Like, all businesses started as going to stores, taking your basket, like, filling up that and coming back home. It was a self-serve economy, and we moved into full service economy. Like you expect things to show up, any place, anytime,
Yeah.
anyhow, right? And in, like, frequency, like, which is like 15x more than what it was in the past. Like, I click 15 times a day, and 15 things show up,
Yeah.
right? So I wanted to basically build a system which would, like, become completely agnostic of all the actors involved in supply chain, just like internet would, and it would find the most optimal resource to move things from point A to point B. And you may be asking, does this thing doesn't happen today? Absolutely not.
Wow.
Because if you look at your door, Nindarji, if you ordered like 6 things, 6 different carriers show up.
Yes.
You have FedEx, you have UPS, you have DHL, you have, like,
Yeah.
like Deliveroo, you got, like,
Yeah.
everyone shows up. And so the door is the same, but basically the networks are all closed and they're opaque. And so my idea was to break all of this opacity and make it transparent, so everyone, like, you can actually take a package and attach it to the right resource at the right segment of the journey,
Wow.
just like internet would. And think of data packets and how it moves in internet, right?
Yeah.
Same concept applied in the physical world. And I've been dabbling with this theory of physical internet since 2007. I've been the early author of all of these things. and the principles that go with it. And all of my work in all of these big companies have been an adaptation of it. So it was natural for me to say, how do I bring the internet thinking into the world of logistics? And blockbuster idea and blockbuster success already. We got like some of the nation's largest carriers on board.
Wow.
We got like some exclusive rights, like doing some exclusive things for large companies with large volumes, because they see the benefit of something that I'm trying to do, which is like if we are successful in our pursuit, we can take the cost of a delivery that costs $15 a package down to like less than $1 a package. Okay, and you may be thinking this is atrociously optimistic, but I've already proved it in American Eagle that we could take it down to half what American Eagle was spending. American Eagle was spending like $9 a delivery. Now they spend like $4.50 a delivery. And we just like were able to aggregate only 15 brands to get to that kind of scale. Now imagine all brands, all logistics companies becoming one homogeneous system.
It's back to collaboration again.
And breaking the boundaries and bringing the interoperability of like an internet-like world. We should be able to easily achieve that number, and we are already on that path. Every time a brand comes and does business with us, they save a ton of money. We basically take the access and basically transaction dollars, and the carriers are also benefiting because the small carrier who never had access to the brands now begin to look like a bigger national carrier that they can access. So everyone has been benefiting from our platform.
Everybody wins.
And so when everyone wins, no one fights.
Love it.
Right? So the business has taken off. And
of course, you've had a very successful trip to the Middle East as well.
Yes, absolutely. So the government, the Saudi government is basically very excited about using our platform. I've been to Southeast Asia, they're excited about it. I've been in the Signature Awards, people are excited about working with us here in UK. Same is the case with Eastern Europe, everywhere, US, it's just booming. So we've been pulled, which is a great
great place to be.
Place to be. Team is fantastic. They've been executing like crazy. My team, who's who on my team. So that's going great. Now coming to the second question you asked about AI and where AI is headed.
Remember, that's what you're using as part of what's
different about all.
That's what's different about your business. You're using data and analysis and AI to move things quicker.
Yeah. So moving quicker is one side of the angle. Making it more human is the second side of the angle.
You always talk about being the human side.
Yeah. So which is what I call angelic intelligence. It is not artificial intelligence. People get confused with AI. We started talking about AI as a traditional AI that we define, which is basically systems which are designed to take the task and make it efficient for you. The second type of AI, which is the AI that I'm trying to build, is not artificial in nature. It is angelic in nature, meaning it takes all of the virtues that makes us human. Compassion, love, humility, temperance, forgiveness, all of these things. Applied into the computation and the algorithms. That way it takes humane decisions while it is routing things. Let me give you a couple of examples to bring it to life. So, and you see this because you work in a warehouse. There is a Hermes bag, and then there is a medical delivery sitting right next to
side by side.
Yeah, side by side. And the guy who's actually buying a Hermes bag, obviously Hermes bag itself is trying to pay more so that it moves faster. And the person who bought it also wants it faster. So that takes always precedence over medical delivery. And this medical delivery is headed to a 78-year-old who needs it.
That's interesting. The money counts here. This is where the money counts.
Yeah. So So how do you bring compassion into the process of delivery? Like how do you give precedence to that medical delivery over the Hermes bag? And you're able to meet the delivery requirements of both without sacrificing the time. But there is compassion built into it, right? So this is where we are able to differentiate ourselves. In the world of artificial intelligence, what will differentiate a brand? Content engineering, content marketing is outsourced because AI is able to do it. You know, like everyone who's like, you know, in fashion photography no longer needed because Nano Banana or like, you know, C Dance has come out with a way to basically take pictures and you don't even need like, you know, photographers anymore. Right? You can build a website in 2 minutes, what used to take like many months. So everything is getting like artificialized. You know, if there's a word as such, what keeps the authenticity of a brand? It is how you show up as a brand, the empathy, the connection, the connectivity. So every brand has to have something like this so it differentiates itself. And so I saw that as a need, like, you know, like in 2016. Like, you know, like, and if you think about the journey of what we did with American Eagle, why American Eagle is like such a blockbuster company right now is because we were able to combine these two things. And so now I'm trying to amplify this. So bring the virtue into the process of compute and make it available at in every decision, so everything can be actually measured through a human lens. So it's almost like think about carbon credit, like how you measure carbon miles. Think about like humanity and how human you are in the process, right? And measuring all of that and being able to say, I stand for goodness in the world. A driver who does good will get karma points, and they basically can leverage those things to get better financial well-being for themselves. They can go get a loan. You know, don't just measure me on how many good miles I've driven. Also know that I'm a good guy, and I'll combine the good guy of me and the good driver of me, and like let someone become an angel in my life to actually have a better living, and hence basically someone takes a bet and underwrites me. So the possibility of what I'm trying to do is limitless. So that's why the governments are very interested, because they see this layer that I'm building, the virtue layer. So it's the world's first virtue based LLM. Virtue based LLM. It's native. It's not
And
artificial. It's not
and
built over.
and sorry, LLM, just in case somebody.
Large language model. It's like the chat GPTs of the world,
Yeah.
right? So we did not like say let's build some prompts on chat GPT and make it smarter. We said let's build it from ground up and let's have a model that mimics human goodness, right? And so that is what we are actually building and driving and moving forward. And everyone wants to use it. Like people are worried about culture, people are worried about like, you know, values, people are worried about AI taking away jobs, people are worried about like the role of their own well-being. We used to worry about like, you know, like what my job is going to be like 5 years from now. Think about like a generation from now, what is my son going to do? How does he study? What is he studying? Right? These are all questions that like humanity like and the society has to deal with. And can we bring a more compassionate version of intelligence? People don't need artificial intelligence. People need benevolent intelligence. Benevolent intelligence.
Well, on that note, I'm looking at my watch. I can see the aeroplane getting ready. I can see you jumping into your nice car and going there. So let me just quickly sum up, if I may. Fascinating. And well, listen, we didn't even get into, and I thought this might, we didn't even get into the real AI in and out. So I think, without a doubt, we're going to have to call you back in. Some interesting comments you made, though. Systems are important, but it's about human cognition. You said learning continues. You're still on a journey. Talent is important. Transformation is important, but transformation can only work if you put culture first. if you put people first. Technology doesn't drive business. It's the people that drive business. So for those of you listening and watching, your customer is your focus.
Yeah.
You've got to make sure your people, these are everything you've been saying, your people understand it's not the technology that makes your business grow, it's how you treat your people. You need to have pride. Automation is good, but it's people. And by the way, systems only become flawed because we don't understand expectations.
Absolutely.
We've got to understand it. That was your word. You've got to understand expectation. So actually the human system is more important than the technical system because in your words is you've got to understand how they think, what makes them feel important, and why they think they're relevant. So psychology comes into it. I love the comment. It's not about the brain. It's about the heart. If you can make someone's heart move in the brain will follow. You have a purpose in life. And I think that all comes together. Don't be a number on a balance sheet. Make an impact so people see you more than a number. Sometimes, we were listening to Surinder Arora on Friday, and he said sometimes things that look impossible have a go. Because actually they can be, and that's what you're doing. I thought the biggest one actually was to grow. People think you have to bring everybody else down. But actually you said no, you can grow together. And I think that's we're all being taught to be competitive and bring everybody down. Actually no. I also like the other bit, there's a false sense with brands that they control. Actually it's a false sense. Nobody controls anything. And again, that was brilliant the way you explained it. Actually, it's the brand you control, but what you do with that brand. So many moving parts. I love the transition from intrapreneur to entrepreneur and how suddenly the vendors that were queuing for you was now having to wait to speak to them. So the insight you gave there is treat people respect on your way out because you don't know when you're going to meet them again. I think the other one is, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, keep your mind open. Embrace everything that's thrown at you and just keep it open. Listen, you've got 150 patents, so you understand the world of business, technology and innovation. But you said actually, it's the empathy of a brand that cuts through. Why are you different and how you treat your people? And I'll finish on this comment. You mentioned the word karma. That can only be good if you look at everything through the human lens. And that's what you talked about. So today we set out to talk about AI, but we've only had to be able to touch it because I think what you talked about today was AI can only work if you get the human side right.
Yes.
And we'll call you in again, and I know we're going to, where we'll then look at the technical side of it, what makes it either an opportunity or a disaster, and you're going to give us that. Where the commentators who support either side are right or wrong. Mm-hmm. What does success look like in terms of technology? And where do we think global trade's going? Because you talked about distribution.
Yep.
That can only work if all the global players play together and the role of economics and the role of politics in that. Because if things get stuck, do you remember you broke it down when you shipped across the... So I think there's a lot more to chat about. Today, unfortunately, you've got a flight waiting and we've run out of time. So, Mr. Shekhar, listen, thank you very much for being there on Friday. You were a worthy winner of the Global Impact. And anybody now listening to this will understand why now. And I very much look forward to our next meeting where we will go into understanding what AI really means for business, for people, and for society. Shekhar ji, thank you very much for your time. And have a safe trip, I assume, back to San Francisco.
Yes, absolutely.
Have a safe trip. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's an honor.
Thank you.
Thank you.